Juniper by Monica Furlong, Chapter 5. Shivering and exhausted, I crept toward the fire as an animal would have done and sank down before it. I must have looked a terrible sight, my hair and clothes sopping wet, my limbs covered in blood and mud, my ankle beginning to swell. If Uni had uttered one word of sympathy, I would have burst into a flood of tears. Instead, she sat in silence, perfectly still. After a bit, she said, "There's a blanket on the bed," and eventually it occurred to me that she meant me to strip off my damp clothes and wrap myself in it. I looked around the room. There was a box bed in one corner, and I went over and took out the ragged blanket and put it around my cold shoulders. Meanwhile, Uni had filled a bowl with soup from the fire and set it in the hearth for me. I put a hand out of my blanket, grasped the battered spoon she gave me, and ate the soup. It had odd bits of gristle in it, and the strange flavor that I was to discover Uni's soup often had, but it sent a shiver of delight through me. It was hot and spicy, and I could feel some faint flicker of energy return to my exhausted body. "There won't be much food to eat here," Uni said, "so you needn't expect it." What I was wondering at the moment was where I was going to sleep. I had always slept in a bed with down pillows and linen sheets. I could see that there would be no room for me in Uni's tiny bed. "Please, where shall I sleep?" I asked at last. "On the hearth, of course," said Uni. "This isn't a palace, you know." She managed to inject a lot of scorn into that remark. She got up, went across the room, and fetched a furry skin. It had an odd smell that I didn't like at all. "This will keep you warm," she said. Now I had another problem. Every night of my life, Aerith had helped me take off my clothes, brush my hair, and tucked me into bed. Every morning she had bathed me, dressed me, and braided my hair for me. I had no idea how to do any of it for myself. It had not occurred to me that anyone dressed and undressed without help. "Please, will you help me undress?" I asked. Uni laughed, a bark of a laugh, not altogether unkind, and without a word went back to her rocking chair. I realized with astonishment that she had no intention of giving me any help. With humiliating difficulty, I managed to get my clothes off and comb my hair. I remembered that the little owl was still in my pocket, so I took him out, stood him on a beam, and fed him a tidbit of mouse I had brought from home. I was nervous that this would provoke further rudeness from Uni, but to my surprise a broad smile spread across her face. How just like you," she said, as if she were laughing at a private joke. Since she scarcely knew me, I could not see how she knew whether it was like me or not. Later, I lay curled up in Uni's fur rug, half of it beneath me, protecting me from the cold of the flagstones, half of it above me. Now that I was inside it, the smell was overpowering. My head lolled uncomfortably on one of the creature's paws. There was warmth from the fire, though the shifting of the ashes disturbed me at first. Tired as I was, I went quickly to sleep, but woke long before dawn, cold and miserable, and hating the sound of Uni's snores from across the room. It seemed to me that I might have made a terrible mistake, that although Uni had told me to come, she was not glad, as I had expected her to be. In any case, I would never survive the discomfort and squalor of life there, with no one to dress me and take care of me. Great tears of self-pity ran down my cheeks. I sat up, my body cramped and frozen. It was not light yet, but I could leave as soon as it was dawn. My torn smock, hanging over the rocking chair near the fire, had dried in the night. I had simply to dress and leave before Uni woke. Just then, however, my ankle jarred with pain as I moved. I could see that, badly swollen as it was, I would never manage the long walk home. I groaned and curled back again into the strong-smelling skin. I must have dozed, because the next thing I knew it was light, and I could hear Uni moving around and smell ham frying. "Thought you'd be hungry this morning," said Uni. "This is the last of the old pig. It's a bit high, but it'll do you good. We'll kill the next pig before winter." She handed me a plate. It didn't look like a very clean plate to me, with a bit of fried ham and a hunk of black bread on it. She was quite right. I was very hungry, and although although the ham had a rancid taste, I gulped it down together with the black bread and some lumpy porridge she was stirring over the fire. "I can see you'll eat me out of house and home," Uni said in her cross voice. "Get dressed, wash yourself, comb your hair, try to look like a human being, even if you can't look like a princess." Obediently, though very slowly and awkwardly, I washed myself clean in the freezing water, combed my tangly hair, put on another of the smocks in my bundle, and tied on my sandals. I was surprised to find that I could do it all by myself. "Now sit down," said Uni. "We need to talk." Stiff and tired from my long walk and my night among the ashes, and still rather hungry, I sat miserably down, my swollen ankle in front of me. Before we talked, Uni selected some herbs and tied them around my ankle. "Walk on it," she said, "but not too much." My ankle hurt badly with each step I took. "Now," she said, "I expect you feel very hard done by this morning, living in this miserable hole after the splendors of the palace." She sounded as if she were gloating, and I was too angry to trust myself to speak. Children in my country are trained to be very polite to grown-ups. "But I am a poor person, not rich like your father, and this is the way poor people live." I knew, because Erlaine had told me, that Uni had been offered a house at the wooden palace, and all kinds of presents by my father, but that she had always refused. As if she guessed my thoughts, Uni went on. "I find life easier this way. Let me tell you why I think you are here. I won't talk much about it after today, so listen carefully. What I know about is power, not the sort of power your father has with soldiers and armies and weapons, but a power that comes from knowing." "I know a lot," I said, eager to please. "I know Latin, and about the stars, and mathematics, and poems." "Not that sort of knowing," she said, interrupting me rather contemptuously. "That sort just gets in the way, makes you think you are clever, like weapons make men think they are strong. My sort of power is about seeing. Seeing into the future, seeing into someone's heart and mind. Sometimes it is about knowing what a tribe or people must do to escape danger. Sometimes it is just about understanding yourself, or one other person. Seeing and knowing and being very truthful about what you see and know, they make things begin to happen, maybe more things than battles and armies. Sometimes they prevent bad things." I thought of the moment with Gamal on the hillside, but did not feel like mentioning it. "So, could I have power?" I asked. "It is too soon to say. It is possible, but you may spoil it." "How?" I asked anxiously. "By wanting it too much, or using it badly." "And if I don't spoil it?" "Then you will become what the powerful ones call a Doran, and that might be very important for your father and his kingdom. But it is a long, difficult path, and it may be too much for you." "It won't," I said. determined not to miss my chance. Or you may decide you don't like the idea when you know more about it. I thought that was very unlikely. I remembered Gamal's question. Is it only women who become Dorans? I asked her. No, but there are more women who take that path. Men prefer to put their trust in weapons and fighting. They don't know it, but it makes them weaker. Asking Gamal's question had reminded me of something else. Is Marut a Doran? I asked Uni. Her face darkened and her lip curled with scorn. Marut only uses magic to make other people do what she wants. I remembered my own fantasies of doing just that. Is that bad? I asked timidly. It is wicked, Uni replied with a terrifying emphasis. Then, with the air of one who has had more conversation than she is used to, Uni stood up and packed some bread into a basket before hoisting it onto her back. I have work to do today, she said, so you'll just have to stay here. Light the fire and make some soup for supper. I'm not sure if I'll be back by nightfall.